big day in the world of AI, specifically because OpenAI has just released Agent Builder, and it is essentially their competitor to tools like N8N, Make.com, and even Zapier to a certain extent. Now, there are some things that make it different, but anytime OpenAI comes out with a new product like this, people are speculating, is this the end of insert company name? In this case, it's all about N8N. So I was really excited to hear this, and I'm about to break down the top features, what's similar and what might be different when you're thinking about, should I be building agentic workflows in this platform or another platform? So at a base level, this new builder is just a drag and drop workflow builder, the same way that N8N works, where you can create an input and an output, and you just drag and drop them and connect them together. They're calling these different elements nodes, which is the same thing as N8N, and these different nodes can do everything from reasoning, tool calls, data processing, and even publish agents without excessive coding. So there's a couple tools that's very unique to this ChatGPT builder or OpenAI builder that's a little bit different from other platforms. And the first one is called Chatkit. And this is an embeddable chat UI that can go right into a website, an app, tools like Slack. And they can even have customizable widgets for dynamic interactions. One of the biggest features of this new agentic builder is that it supports MCP. And if you're not familiar, MCP is a very popular protocol that is used for AI agents across many different platforms, which means you can plug into a tool like Zapier. As a matter of fact, it plugs into over 8,000 tools that are all connected via MCP. This means you can do things like web search, access files, access computers, so on and so forth, making this a truly agentic feature. An interesting side note is that, this kind of bakes in a little bit of built-in observability, I guess you would call it, meaning that you can have this tool adjust and look for bugs on the fly as you're coding or as you're building something. But the big thing is that this whole process, this whole builder is optimized for multi-step agentic tasks. Now, I have a previous video about what actually is an AI agent, and it's essentially a tool that is autonomous, meaning not like ChatGPT where you say, hey, can you go find X, Y, or Z, and it goes and does it. You can say, I want this task done, and it's going to figure out the best way to do that task instead of you saying, hey, do X, Y, and then Z. So I guess you could say that this is a big update from OpenAI to push forward the agentic movement and really get us a little bit closer to that AGI or ASI where agents are working around the clock as assistants for us all. One really interesting feature was the chat feature where you can actually chat with different tools. So they gave an example of Canva. And if you're not familiar with Canva, it's basically, well, it used to be a graphic design platform. Now it's kind of everything. But in this agentic workflow, you can connect it to Canva and you can chat with Canva and you can say, hey, take this input from this file that's connected via an MCP, and I want you to design take your pick. You can really design anything with it, but I want you to design a YouTube thumbnail based on the data in this file, and I want it to be in the format of this, in this color scheme, and it'll give it to Canva, and it'll run it, and it'll spit it out on the back end. Now, this is sort of already possible with N8N, but the way that ChatGPT is doing it is this is really, in my opinion, OpenAI's bread and butter, which is the UI. And the interface is just so slick, so simple, so easy to digest, whereas N8N can be a little bit intimidating and kind of a lot. If you have an app, you can submit it to OpenAI and you can have it plugged into the system, if you will. So, basically, this is a way for you to get new users that may not be using your app by chatting with ChatGPT. Now, what's interesting is that it feels like OpenAI is trying to essentially get rid of the operating system and have it all just be a chat interface, which is something that I think a lot of us have talked about, but now we're seeing it sort of play out in real life. This is definitely something that N8N should be worried about because ChatGPT has 800 million users. So they immediately have access to a huge amount of people, all of which are probably using N8N. Not all of the OpenAI users, but everyone that uses N8N is definitely using ChatGPT to a certain extent. Now, one limitation with this agentic builder is that it is actually only able to use OpenAI models. To me, this is a deal breaker because, for example, if I'm doing copywriting, I want to be able to use Claude and Anthropic. And if I want to be able to research something on YouTube, I need to be able to use Gemini. If I want to source X content, I need to use Grok. And so by locking in the OpenAI platform, while I understand why they're doing it, they're trying to just lock you in there even further. This creates a big limitation that to me is a bit of a deal breaker. And there's definitely situations, especially the chat UI that they created where I think it makes sense to use this over N8N. But in general, I don't see this really wiping out N8N unless OpenAI was to change their mind and allow access to other LLMs and other competitive models. But at the end of the day, what this is it's but at the end of the day, this is a huge attempt to allow non-experts to develop these custom agents that essentially act as team members. So now you can automate the process of doing all types of stuff that would normally get in the way. You'd have to go into a terminal, you'd have to code, you'd have to know Python, you'd have to do all this stuff. But now it's as simple as going into a chatbot and typing it in. It's a little bit more complex than that, but ultimately, this opens the door for non-technical experts to start building agents. And this is just the first step. Who knows where we're going to be at in a year? So this is really interesting, this whole AgentKIT development from OpenAI. We saw it coming for a while. I'm a little disappointed in the fact that you can only use one model, but this is a space to really look out for. And as someone that uses N8N religiously, I'm going to start playing around with this and just see, is it better? Is the user face better? Or is it too limited in scope for me to really get anything out of it? But I'm very curious what you think. Is this an N8N killer? Is this just kind of another gimmick product from ChatGPT that's not really going to do anything? Or do you even see yourself using this at all? And if so, how do you plan on using it? By the way, make sure you subscribe to the channel because it's all about making AI accessible for business owners, beginners, and everything in between. So if you have a job and you want to use AI, if you have a business, if you just want to use it in your regular life, my goal is to make these tools accessible and easy to understand for you. And let's see what else happens. It's supposed to be a big week. I think Gemini 3 is going to be dropping pretty soon. We'll see.